Texas coaches and players are keeping the faith. Should you? Let's dive in on today's episode of Locked On Longhorns. Intro.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You are locked on to the Texas Longhorns. I'm your host, BK, Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin local, and longtime sports radio host here in the Lone Star State. Thank you for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. We've got a question if Steve Sarkisian needs to change a philosophy of his. And also, we've got some important injury updates ahead of this weekend's game against Sam Houston. But first, despite the very underwhelming offensive performance against UTEP and the less than stellar start to the 2025 season, the Texas football team is remaining confident. Most of Longhorn Nation is concerned with the quarterback play and just the offense as a whole. That's well documented, and we've talked about those concerns a lot throughout the course of this week. But coaches and players and everyone within the walls of the Moncrief Athletic Complex on campus, they're staying upbeat about the remainder of this season. The coaching staff is on record saying that they believe that the issues at quarterback are temporary. The coaching staff is also encouraged that, hey, we've seen some good things from this defense and the kicking game so far. They also think that this defense can get even better. We compared the numbers between the 2024 Longhorn defense and the 2025 Longhorn defense yesterday. There are a lot of similarities. This group is off to a fantastic start. And what's kind of weird about the defense, Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill aren't doing a whole lot right now. Anthony Hill only has 14 tackles through the first 3 games. He doesn't have a TFL yet. He doesn't have a sack yet. That guy was first on Texas in tackles for a loss last year. He was second on the team in sacks. He doesn't have a single one of those yet. And I think part of that is because Texas is rotating so many different guys on defense. And honestly, I think Pete Kwiatkowski is kind of waiting to unleash Anthony Hill on the SEC. He's kind of easing him into the season and making sure he's not giving up too much energy right now in some of these non-conference games. We know how good Anthony Hill is. We also know how good Colin Simmons is capable of being. He hasn't had the start to the year that any of us would like, but the staff knows the talent, and they know that he's going to come around. And I feel the same way about him too. He was a preseason All-American for a reason. If you remove the garbage time touchdown that UTEP scored this past weekend, Texas is giving up just 8 points per game this season. They're also giving up fewer yards per game and fewer yards per play than last year's defense did through the first 3 weeks. So despite all of the losses, including the Thorpe Award winner and Jahdae Barron and a couple of high-round draft picks at other spots, this Texas defense has been really, really good. And I think that's going to continue the rest of the way. So the coaching staff is confident about that. The kicking game looks solid too. Mason Shipley looks like the real deal at kicker. Jack Bomeister has been a difference maker as your punter. It was good to see the return game take a step in the right direction on Saturday. Like, Texas has 2 of the 3 phases playing well enough for them to compete in the SEC. That's the good news. The coaching staff believes that the offense will come around, and not just in due time, but starting this weekend against Sam Houston. And the staff believes that if the Longhorns do play well in all 3 phases this Saturday, that confidence is going to grow. And Texas is going to feel good headed into SEC play in that crazy October stretch that they have. It's great. The coaches are confident. We heard Arch Manning on Monday talking about him remaining confident and believing in his ability, and his teammates are saying all of the right things, and everyone still believes that this offense is going to figure it out, and everyone believes that the offense is close, that they're not far off, and that just a couple of minor changes and adjustments can get this offense firing on all cylinders and looking like what we wanted to see this offense look like. Steve Sarkisian, on his Monday press conference, was asked about his team getting booed at DKR at the end of the first half against UTEP. He knows that his team's offensive play is not good enough. But pay attention to what he says at the end of this clip right here.
Yeah, at the end of the day, as I said earlier, I think that we've set a standard around here of the way we play football, and there's an expectation from our fans about the way we play football. It's fast, it's physical, it's tough, it's smart, it's exciting, and at times we didn't play that way this weekend. And I think at the end of the day, they're spending money. They're coming to games. They're sitting in the heat. They want to make sure we give them something to give them a reason to be there. And so that's not the only reason we're all there. We're obviously there for as a team, our own goals, our own aspirations, and what we're not only trying to do on that Saturday, but for the duration of this season. But also, man, our fans offer so much support to us that clearly, if they were booing about the way we were playing, just imagine how we were feeling about the way we were playing at some of that juncture in the first half. So understandable, but again, don't give up on us too quick. I think we got a pretty good team.
Don't give up on us too quick. I think we have a pretty good team. There's no fire drill going on at DKR like there is on the outside world. And of course, Steve Sarkisian, smart to not take any shots at the fans there. But I believe him. I believe that he is confident that this offense will turn around. I say it all the time. Coaches are problem solvers. The best coaches are able to solve their problems the fastest. Steve Sarkisian is going to have to earn every penny of his paycheck this year to try to get this offense figured out. But he believes, and the guys in that locker room believe in Arch Manning and the rest of the offense, and that's a good sign, and I trust that things are going to get fixed up. But here's what's interesting. It's not just the guys in the locker room that are still buying into the Longhorns. How about this from our great friends at FanDuel? We know that Texas is a 39.5 to 40-point favorite this weekend against Sam Houston. I'm not sure that's doing anything for anybody right now. But we have some look-ahead lines for the first two SEC games on the Horn schedule. And these are lines from this week. These aren't look-ahead lines from before the season started. These are lines that I saw yesterday. October 4th, the SEC opener at Florida. The look-ahead line has Texas as a 7-point favorite against the Gators. A 7-point road favorite in a hostile environment against a talented team that opened the year in the top 15. Doesn't sound like Vegas is quitting on Texas. Well, maybe that line has something to do with Florida starting 1-2, and they've got to play Miami this weekend. So Vegas is probably assuming 1-3. But the way some of Longhorn Nation is talking right now, I think a lot of you would still pick Florida to win that game, even if they are 1-3 going into it. What about the week after? The Red River Shootout. Yes, we still call it that here on Locked On Longhorns. How about this? The current look-ahead line, Texas -11. -11. The Longhorns a double-digit favorite right now. Even though everyone is falling in love with John Mateer and Oklahoma after their 3-0 start, the folks in the desert have yet to drop down on one knee. They still love Texas in that game. Of course, we'll know more about both teams by the time we get to October 11th, but Texas isn't just a favorite. They are a substantial one for that game in the Cotton Bowl right now. I can already hear some of y'all logging on to FanDuel right now to make the bet on the Sooners. Just saying, those folks in the desert don't like giving out free money. So they usually know what they're doing. Those casinos don't build themselves. One more here. How about national championship odds? A lot of y'all, myself included, are probably scoffing at the notion that Texas can win it all with what we've seen through these first 3 weeks. Vegas isn't scoffing. The Horns are plus 750 to win the whole thing. That's still top 5 in the country. Only Ohio State, Penn State, Georgia, and Oregon have better odds than Texas to win it all right now. That means the Longhorns have better odds than LSU, Miami, Alabama, Notre Dame. Guess Notre Dame's 0-2. Probably didn't need to include them. A&M, Oklahoma, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. That's something. So, hey, the guys in the locker room aren't giving up. The guys in Sin City aren't giving up either. Maybe we shouldn't be pulling the plug on the 2025 Texas football life support machine just yet. What say you? Is Vegas off? Am I off? Are the guys in the locker room off? Do you still believe that Texas can get off to an 2-0 start in the SEC? And you still believe this group has a chance to compete for a national title? Or have you already jumped off the bandwagon? Would love to hear from y'all in the comments below. All right. If Texas is going to win those games at Florida and at Oklahoma, and if they are going to make a run at a national championship, I think Steve Sarkisian is going to have to change a certain philosophy that he's held for a long time. I'll tell you what it is up next on Locked On Longhorns. But first, a word for our friends at DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. Yesterday, we picked a defensive player. How about James Simon? I like what James Simon did in his Texas debut. Led the Longhorns in a rushing against UTEP, averaged 4.2 yards per carry after contact in that game against the Miners. Very impressive with James Simon, and I think he could go on a little bit of a streak here again with this game this weekend. Just like James Simon delivered for the Horns, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday that you order. Stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through 11/18. And of course, a word for our friends at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure that you're ready for every kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app. Yes, you heard that right. I love FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, same-game parlays, live in-game betting. So if you don't get your picks in by kickoff, boom, you can still cash in with FanDuel. It's quick, it's easy, it's the best way to add a little bit more energy to your Sundays and Mondays and Thursdays too. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. I'm not sure if Steve Sarkisian is a Kenny Rogers fan. No, not the former Texas Ranger pitcher. We're talking about the gambler here, the Country Music Hall of Famer, the late, great Kenny Rogers. Even if Sark isn't a big fan, I think he could learn a thing or two from Kenny's most iconic song. You got to know when to hold him, know when to fold him, know when to walk away, know when to take the points. Okay, maybe that's a BK remix at the end, but follow me here. The way this Texas offense has played, I don't think they can afford to be as aggressive as they've been through these first three games. Now, against Sam Houston, when you're a 40-point favorite, you can be as aggressive as you want. I have no problem if they decide they want to turn this thing into Madden and go for it on pretty much every fourth down on Saturday. That's fine because you're going to win the game either way. But against SEC teams, take the points. 3 ain't bad. It's not as good as 7. I get that. But it's a hell of a lot better than 0. And too many times when Texas has gotten into the scoring zone, they have walked away with 0. Texas ranks 130th in the country in red zone scoring percentage. There's only 136 teams. And most of why they haven't scored when they've gotten inside the 20 is because they're going for it on fourth down and they are not converting. Texas has attempted 3 total field goals this season. They're 3 for 3. It looks like the Longhorns have a kicker with Mason Shipley. Texas has gone for it on fourth down 12 times. So 400% more fourth down attempts than field goal kicks. The Longhorns are 5 for 12 on fourth down. So they've left a lot of points on the board. Texas is 41.7% on fourth down. That ranks 12th in the SEC, of course, out of 16 teams. They were just 2 of 5 against UTEP this past Saturday. Maybe the most concerning or damning part of these numbers, however you want to describe it, Texas has thrown the ball on 6 of those 12 fourth down attempts. They've only converted 1 of those 6. The one they did convert, here's where it gets worse. It was Matthew Caldwell completing a pass to Khalil Lockett. So your backup quarterback, who's barely played, throwing it to a freshman wide receiver who, for some reason, has also barely played. Can't quite figure that one out. That's your only fourth down passing conversion that you've had through 3 games this year. On fourth down, Arch Manning is 1 for 5 for 3 yards, again, with 0 goose egg conversions. Steve Sarkisian was asked post-game on Saturday if he would consider maybe going for it less on 4th downs in the future. Here's what he said.
I read this quote a long time ago from, I think it was Rick Barry. He talked about if he was 0 for 10 shooting the ball, look out, because he was a 50% lifetime shooter. The numbers bear out on 4th down. Like when you have certain percentages predicated on down and distances, and you believe in your players, look out. We're going to start converting these 4th downs. We're going to extend drives and things of that nature. And so, hey, we've been aggressive around here for 4 years, and year 5 is not going to change. Now certain games and score of the game and flow of the game are going to dictate some of those things. But early in games, when we have some of these opportunities, we'll probably remain pretty aggressive.
That's basically a long-winded way of Sark saying, no, we're not going to stop going for it on 4th down. Now, we did throw that caveat towards the end of that answer where he's like, certain games, certain situations, but he basically told you that he's going to continue to stay aggressive. And he's been aggressive. Like, that's who Sark has always been here at Texas and at other places. He's gone for it a lot on 4th down, but Texas is usually better on converting those 4th downs than they are right now. Like, I don't love the Rick Barry metaphor, because Rick Barry is one person. Like, he was always Rick Barry. The Texas offense is 11 people, and it's 8 different people, 8 different starters from the group you had last year. So it's not the same thing. So it feels like a flawed comparison there from Coach Sark. I get what he's trying to do. Again, there's just too many moving parts to just say, one person said this about himself. It's different. It's different. Again, this weekend against Sam Houston, okay, see what you can do on 4th down. If Texas goes 5 for 5 on 4th down against Sam Houston, I'll probably be wondering why they needed 5 4th downs against this defense. But all right, I'll be feeling a little bit more confident that they've solved some of those issues. But again, 2 of 5 on UTEP or against UTEP on 4th down. And you think about Florida and Oklahoma, obviously your 2 games right after this week. Those teams have really good defenses. Like, points might be at a premium in both of those games. Those might be 16-13. Those might be, 2017 type of games right there. And maybe not just those 2. And other SEC games too. Texas could be playing in some slugfests this year. You have to be willing to take the points from time to time, especially if your 4th down offense continues to struggle when you do go for it. Sark's always been aggressive, so he's sticking with his MO. But we haven't seen this year's offense prove that they can do this. And until they do, Steve Sarkisian might have to break tendency a little bit. Last year, I was pretty comfortable with Texas being aggressive on those 4th downs because they didn't have a kicker who could make anything. This year, I know Mason Shipley hasn't attempted a high-pressure kick just yet, right? He didn't attempt a field goal in the Ohio State game, but he's 3 for 3. He's looked pretty good with what he's done so far. So I feel like when you do trot the kicker out this year, it is going to be taking the points versus just hoping and praying your kicker can make it. You've got a kicker who's been really good over the course of his college career. With this defense that's really good, one of the best in the country, you can win games by just, sitting on people and taking the 3 from time to time. I would like to see more of that for Texas. I think that is a change that Steve Sarkisian might have to make, again, in philosophy and tendency with this Longhorn offense, especially if they can't get their ish together in due time. All right. I want to hear from y'all. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with Sark? Do you stay aggressive on 4th down? Do you start taking the points a little bit more often? What say you? We've got one segment to go on a Thursday show. How about some insider injury updates for a number of key Longhorns? Could we see a few guys make their returns this weekend? We've got the latest right here on Locked On Longhorns. But before that, a shout out to our friends at Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all of the details. Mazda brings the same intention with how they craft every model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available Nappa leather upholstery. They're also incredibly safe. They offer more IIHS top safety picks than anybody else. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but an everyday drive. From their smooth handling to intuitive controls. And oh yeah, all-wheel drive is standard on every crossover SUV, so you can drive with confidence throughout almost any season. Like Longhorn players, Mazda sweats every detail because, well, when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Check them out. It's Mazda. Move and be moved. Welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. We didn't get a ton on the injury front from Steve Sarkisian during his Monday presser. Maybe we'll get a little bit more today. Sark did inform us that running back C.J. Baxter will not play on Saturday. He also said that center Cole Hudson, safety Xavier Filsaime, I just call him Senator? I don't know what I just said. And cornerback Kobe Black, all three of those guys are questionable for Saturday. So again, maybe we'll hear more from Steve Sarkisian. We'll get some updates. But even though the coach didn't share a ton, I've talked to some people. I've been able to pick up a little more information on some timelines for some key Longhorns to return to the field. We will start with running back Trey Wisner. The junior tailback is dealing with a hamstring injury that has obviously caused him to miss the last 2 games. Now, it isn't very serious. That's the good news. Obviously, it's not nothing. Otherwise, he wouldn't have missed these last 2 weeks. But I was told that if the Florida game was this weekend, Trey Wisner would be on the field. So that's the good news there. He might not play because Texas is such a big favorite against the Sam Houston team. But barring a setback, I think it's very safe to assume that Quintravion Wisner will be there for the Longhorns conference opener. Texas will need him then. They don't need him right now. Give him some extra time to get right. I'm okay with that. Wide receiver DeAndre Moore. He is out of concussion protocol, and he is back on the practice field this week. That's the good news. I think there's a pretty good chance that we will see DeAndre Moore on Saturday, especially given the issue of the Texas passing game. Getting one of your best weapons back on the field on the outside, I think that could help Arch Manning get into a little bit more of a rhythm. Those guys had some good chemistry last year, hoping to see more of it this year. Obviously, you can't see it unless number 0 is on the field. So I think we do see DeAndre Moore on Saturday. How limited will he be? I don't know. I mean, this isn't like a lingering soft tissue injury. This is a concussion. He's out of protocol. He's practicing, which means he's been cleared. That means he should be good to go for Saturday. So you love that. You need all the help you can get at wide receiver, and just with this passing game right now. Defensive tackle Alex January. He has also missed the last 2 games. Another guy who, according to folks that I've talked to, should be back for Florida. I don't know if we'll see him on Saturday, but the issue that he's dealing with doesn't sound serious enough to where it is going to bleed into the month of October. So I started with those 3, Wisner, Moore, and January, because yesterday on the SEC coaches call, Steve Sarkisian was asked if those 3 guys would be back this weekend, Wisner, Moore, and January. And Sark said he expects to have, quote, a couple of those guys for sure, end quote. So maybe it's 2 of those 3 who are playing this weekend. Maybe he was just speaking generically, like, yeah, a couple of the guys who have recently been out will be back on the field this Saturday. I don't know. But Sark indicating that Texas will be getting some reinforcements against Sam Houston. That's obviously good news. The latest with C.J. Baxter, again, we know he's out on Saturday. He's dealing with the hamstring issue. You know, I know a lot of Longhorn fans got concerned, right, because Sark was so quick to rule Baxter out. It's like, oh, God, this must be something really serious, and he's going to be sidelined for a long time again. And that, unfortunately, has kind of been what C.J. Baxter is known for. He got hurt a few different times in his first year in 2023, obviously missed all of 2024. You don't want to use the P word, prone, when talking about C.J. Baxter. Sounds like it's a very mild tweak to the hamstring. So he, too, the expectation is that he will also be ready to rock and roll in the swamp on October 4th. A couple more for you here. Wide receiver Emmett Mosley, the fifth. Trey Wisner is the guy that I'm most excited to see back on the field, because we saw him rush for 1,000 yards for this team in this conference last year, and we saw him average 5 yards a carry against Ohio State in game 1. The run game is struggling. He's the best running back that you have. Goes without saying, you would like to get him back. But Emmett Mosley, you're looking for answers in the passing game. And we haven't seen him. It's the unknown that excites me the most about Emmett Mosley V. Also, the fact that he put up some really good numbers in his freshman year at Stanford, that definitely helps. Would love to get him back soon. The good news is he's running. The bad news is he's not fully practicing yet. So he's further away than the other names that we've discussed. I'd be very surprised if we see him against Sam Houston on Saturday. You'd love to get him in for this tune-up game. Again, let him build some chemistry and rapport with Arch Manning. So the first time those guys aren't sharing the field together and a real game isn't on the road in a 100,000-seat venue against Florida and a very good defense. But that's what it sounds like it's going to be. The training staff, they have slow played this thing. The offense could certainly use the jolt. He'd be a welcome addition, but I would be very surprised, borderline shocked, if Emmett Mosley is out there on Saturday. But again, feels like he should be ready to go for Florida. Further away from the others, but having that bye week next week, I think, is going to be monumental for his recovery. Two more for you here. Jonah Williams. Golly. I'm so excited about Jonah Williams with what we saw from him in baseball. I also have a sister who graduated from Galveston Ball High School and is a year different in age from Jonah Williams. So I got to see him play a couple of times in high school. I mean, he's incredible. He's an incredible talent. 5-star, one of the top-rated players in the country in the class of 2025. I know y'all want to know about him. Unfortunately, I don't know what the deal is. And I can't get, agreed upon reports about Jonah Williams. One person I talked to said he's been practicing full go for 2 weeks. He just hasn't played. Another person I talked to said he just returned to practice this week on Monday. So the good news is the people I talked to say he's practicing. So he's on his way. But bad news is I don't know how long he's actually been practicing, and I have no idea when he'll play. And even though he's a supreme talent and a 5-star, I don't know if the coaching staff is going to trust him a whole lot in conference play. So it's like, if we don't see him against the Bearcats this Saturday night, how much do we expect to see Jonah Williams this year? Look, the defense has been great. Ryan Niblett did a lot better in punt return on Saturday. I thought Jonah Williams could be a difference maker there. Maybe if Niblett regresses and starts struggling again, then Jonah Williams could be inserted into that role. I don't know. But again, Williams is out there practicing, but I wish I had more for y'all. I wish any of us knew more with what was happening for him. And then last but not least, the safety, the redshirt freshman, Xavier Filsaime. He's practicing this week. Not sure if he'll be out there on Saturday, but if he can play, I think he will. Given his youth, he could use the reps. The coaching staff would like to see him this weekend. So hopefully Filsaime can continue to progress. That's a guy I think we'll get an update from Sark on today, and hopefully it is a positive one. So there you go. Some updates on some key Longhorns. This offense struggling the way that it is, I think, has a lot to do with 2 top running backs and 2 top receivers missing as much time as they have. Those guys would be very welcome re-additions, and in Emmett Mosley's case, an addition to the offense, and then getting some more depth guys back on defense. And one of your best defensive tackles in Alex January won't hurt either. That's going to do it for today's show. Hopefully, making it this far didn't hurt. If you did make it this far, thank you very much. Please remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment, turn on notifications, all of those great things. Really do appreciate y'all making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every single day. For your next listen, check out Locked On Bets. My man Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers, they've got you covered. They are your one-stop shop for all of your sports betting needs, expert analysis, game picks, the lock of the day. You name it, they have it. Find Locked On Bets on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. We'll do more of a deep dive preview of this Sam Houston team that's coming to DKR on Saturday night and talk more about what we need to see from the Longhorns in Game 4. That'll be on tomorrow's show. But that'll do it for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, horns up, mic's off. We'll see y'all soon. This is Locked On Longhorns.